Imagine signing divorce papers with a big smile on your face, thinking you just won everything. That's what my husband did. He grinned like he'd hit the jackpot, handed me the pen and said, "Sign it, babe, you'll be fine." My name is Lisa Thompson. I'm 26 years old, and this happened right here in a quiet suburb outside Atlanta, Georgia. He never knew, not for one single second, that while he was packing his bags and laughing about his fresh start, I had already quietly bought the one thing he loved more than anything in this world: the house he grew up in, the childhood home where every happy memory lived, the place he talked about like it was magic. And now, it was mine, all mine. But what he didn't know, what still makes my hands shake when I think about it, was that this was only the beginning. Something bigger, something he could never see coming, had already started turning in the shadows. If you love stories about quiet strength, smart comebacks, and that sweet feeling when justice shows up soft but strong, stick around. This one's gonna hit you right in the heart and keep you guessing. Hey family, if you're new here and you love real feel, emotional stories with empowering twists and happy endings for the good ones, hit that red subscribe button and the bell right now. It means the world and helps me keep sharing these with you. Thank you. Now let's go back to the beginning. We were married for 6 years. Mark and I met right after high school, fell hard in our early 20s, built a life together fast. Or so I thought. He was the guy everyone loved. Charming, funny, always had a story about his childhood home on Maple Lane. That old 2-story with the big porch swing, the backyard oak tree he climbed as a kid, the kitchen where his mom baked apple pies every Sunday. He talked about it like it was heaven. But over the years, things changed. Mark started staying late at work, a lot. Then came the texts he hid, the weekend business trips that didn't add up. I found lipstick on a collar once. He said it was nothing. I believed him because I wanted to. Then came the day he sat me down at our kitchen table, the one we bought together when we first moved in, and slid the papers across. "I won out, Lisa," he said, smiling like he'd just won a prize. "No hard feelings, you keep the furniture, I'll take my half of the savings. Clean break." He signed first, big, happy signature, then pushed the pen to me. My hands shook, not from sadness anymore, from something colder, sharper. I'd known for months. I'd cried in the shower, talked to my sister on the phone at 2 a.m., prayed for strength, and in those quiet nights while he was out living his secret life, I started planning something he would never see coming. See, Mark's parents passed years ago. The house on Maple Lane went to him in the will, but he never lived there after high school, really. He rented it out for extra cash, said he couldn't bear to sell Mom's house. But rent checks were late, taxes piled up, the tenant moved out. The place sat empty, falling apart a little more each month. And Mark didn't care. So I did what he never expected a quiet wife like me would do. I saved every penny from my side job, the little online business I built selling handmade candles and soaps while working my regular job. I talked to a realtor friend in secret, late at night, so no one would notice my car. I got a loan I qualified for in my own name only. Young, but I had good credit and determination. And 3 weeks before he dropped those papers, I closed on the house. Quietly, no fuss, no announcement. Cashier's check, new deed. Lisa Thompson, sole owner. Every time I drove past that empty house after dark, my heart would race so loud I could hear it. I'd sit in my car, staring at the porch swing, wondering if I was crazy or if this was the one thing that would finally make everything make sense. He signed the divorce the next month, still smiling. Told me, "You'll find someone who appreciates you." Walked out the door, whistling. I stood in my empty living room, holding the keys to 2 houses now, the one we shared and the one that meant everything to him. I didn't cry that day. I smiled, small, private, the kind of smile that says, "You have no idea what's coming." But the real moment, the one that still gives me chills every single time I remember it, came exactly 3 months later, when Mark showed up at the old house on Maple Lane, begging. Welcome back, family. If you're just joining us, go watch part 1 first so you feel every bit of this with me. Last time, I told you how Mark walked out smiling after signing those divorce papers, never knowing I'd already bought his childhood home on Maple Lane, the house he called magic, the house full of every good memory he had left. 3 months passed. Quiet months. I moved into our old place alone, fixed it up slow, started breathing again. My candles business picked up. People loved the new fresh start scents I named them. Life felt lighter. Then one rainy Saturday afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was Mark. "Hey, Lisa, can we talk? I'm in the neighborhood." My stomach flipped. Not fear, not anger, just curiosity mixed with that cold little spark I'd been carrying. I said sure, told him to come by the old house on Maple Lane. He laughed on the phone. "Why there? That place is empty now, right?" I just said, "Trust me, it's better this way," and hung up. 20 minutes later, his car rolled up the cracked driveway. Same car we used to drive to the lake on weekends. He stepped out in a hoodie, looking smaller somehow, wet hair sticking to his forehead, no smile this time. I waited on the porch swing, the same one he used to talk about pushing his mom on. I had a fresh coat of white paint on it now, looked almost new. He walked up slow, hands in pockets, eyes wide when he saw me sitting there like I belonged. "Lisa, what are you doing here?" I stood up calm, held out a single key on a plain silver ring, not the house key. "Mark, you said you wanted to talk, so talk." He looked confused, glanced at the porch, the swing, the oak tree dripping rain. This is my mom's house. How are you even inside?" I tilted my head. "It's not yours anymore." His face went pale. "What do you mean?" I stepped aside so he could see through the front window. The living room was lit soft, warm lamps, fresh curtains, a few of my candles burning on the mantel, photos on the walls, not his childhood ones, mine, us on our wedding day, me and my sister laughing at the beach last summer, a new start. "I bought it," I said quiet, 3 weeks before you asked for the divorce, in my name, cash, no loans tied to you, nothing. He stared, mouth open, no words came out at first. Then he laughed, short, nervous. "You're joking, right? This is crazy." I didn't laugh back. "You always said if you ever got the chance, you'd buy it back, for old time's sake." I paused, let the rain fill the silence. "Well, someone did, just not you." His eyes darted to the key in my hand. "So what, you're kicking me out of my own memories?" I shook my head slow. "No, I'm not kicking you out. You left a long time ago." Then I turned the key over in my palm. "But since you're here, begging to stay for old time's sake, I figured I'd give you something." I walked down the steps in the rain, past him, to the side of the house. There was a little garden shed tucked behind the oak tree, old, weathered, but sturdy. I'd cleaned it out, put a small cot inside, a lantern, even a little heater. I unlocked the shed door. It creaked open. "Here," I said, handing him the key. "This is yours, for old time's sake." He looked inside, then at me, rain running down his face like tears he wouldn't let fall. "Lisa, please, I messed up. I know I did. But this house, it's all I have left of her." I stepped closer, voice steady even though my heart was pounding. "You had me. You had our life. You chose something else." I closed the shed door gentle, locked it again, handed him back the key. "You can stay in there tonight if you want. It's dry, it's warm. But the house, that stays mine." He stood there frozen, rain soaking through his hoodie, no charm left, no grin, just a man realizing the game he thought he won had already ended months ago. I turned to walk back inside, paused at the porch steps. "Mark?" He looked up, eyes red. "Next time you think about smiling while you break someone's heart, remember this feeling." I went inside, closed the door, and for the first time in years, I slept through the night. After that rainy afternoon with Mark begging in the garden shed, I thought maybe that was enough. Maybe he'd learned his lesson and moved on. I changed the locks on the main house, planted new flowers under the oak tree, turned the place into something warm and mine. My candle business grew. I even named one scent Maple Lane Memories with notes of apple pie and fresh rain. It sold out in days. Life started feeling like hope again. Then, about 6 months after the divorce finalized, everything changed again. I got a call from a local news station in Atlanta. A kind reporter named Maria said, "Miss Thompson, we'd love to feature you on our evening segment. You're turning an old family home into a women's shelter. That's inspiring. Can we come film tomorrow?" My heart stopped for a second. I hadn't told anyone yet, not fully, but yes, I'd been quietly working on it. Permits filed, contractors lined up. The house needed love, and so did a lot of women who had nowhere safe to go. I decided to name it after Mark's mom, Evelyn's Haven. She was kind, strong, the kind of woman who baked pies for neighbors and never judged. She deserved to be remembered that way, not through Mark's mistakes. I said yes to the interview. The next day, cameras rolled up Maple Lane. Neighbors peeked from windows. Maria asked gentle questions. What inspired this? I smiled soft. A promise to honor someone special and to give women a fresh start when life tries to break them. They filmed the porch swing, the backyard oak, the kitchen where pies used to bake. I showed them the rooms I was turning into cozy bedrooms, the little library corner with books on healing, the garden we'd plant together. That night, the story aired live. I watched from my couch, cup of tea in hand, heart pounding. The anchor said, "Tonight, a local woman is transforming a beloved childhood home into Evelyn's Haven, a safe shelter for women escaping difficult situations." The home once belonged to the family of Mark Reynolds, but now, thanks to his ex-wife, Lisa Thompson, it will help dozens of families rebuild. They cut to footage of me on the porch. Then, there he was, Mark, in the background of the live shot. He'd driven by, probably curious about the news van. The camera caught him frozen on the sidewalk, face white, staring at the screen they had set up outside for the live feed. He heard every word. Evelyn's Haven, named after his mother. The reporter even mentioned Lisa bought the property quietly before the divorce using her own savings and determination. Mark's phone started blowing up right there on camera. Friends texting, family calling, his new girlfriend, yeah, I'd heard about her, probably watching from home. He looked straight at the camera for a split second. No smile, no charm, just shock, regret, the kind that sinks deep. The segment ended with me saying, "This isn't about payback. It's about turning pain into purpose. Evelyn would have wanted this." I turned off the TV, sat in silence. Tears came, not sad ones, proud ones, healing ones. The next morning, my phone rang. Mark. I let it go to voicemail. His voice cracked. "Lisa, I saw the news. Evelyn's name, on the sign. How could you? That was my mom's house." I texted back one line. "It was her heart too, and now it's helping women like I used to be. Take care, Mark." I didn't block him, didn't need to. He knew. The shelter opened 3 months later. First resident, a young mom with 2 kids, eyes full of the same quiet strength I'd found. She hugged me on the porch swing, said, "Thank you for giving us a home." I looked at the oak tree, leaves rustling soft, and whispered, "Thank you, Evelyn." After the news segment aired and Evelyn's Haven started taking shape, things got quiet again, peaceful. Women moved in, kids laughed in the backyard, the oak tree shaded picnics. I'd visit often, help with meals, listen to their stories. It felt like the house was finally living up to the love Mark's mom poured into it. Then, about 9 months after the divorce, another knock came. I was at the shelter one afternoon, arranging fresh flowers on the kitchen table, the same table where his mom used to roll dough for pies. The doorbell rang soft. I opened it. There stood Mark, clean-shaven this time, nice shirt, and next to him, his new girlfriend, tall, pretty, smiling like she was walking into a normal open house. He cleared his throat. "Lisa, hey, we were in the area. I told Jenna about the old place, how it used to be mine. She wanted to see it. maybe pick up a few things I left behind. You know, old yearbooks, my baseball glove from Little League, stuff like that. Jenna nodded politely. It's such a beautiful house. Mark talks about it all the time. I looked at them both. No anger rose up, just a steady calm I'd earned. Come in, I said, but there's not much left to collect. They stepped inside. Jenna's eyes lit up at first. The polished wood floors, the fresh paint, the smell of vanilla candles. Then she noticed the walls. Every room had photos now, not random ones. In the living room, a big framed picture of me and our kids, Emily and Jack, from last Christmas, smiling in front of the Christmas tree we decorated together after Mark left. Another of Jack at his soccer game, me cheering from the sidelines. Emily's graduation cap photo, her arms around me. In the hallway, a collage of the three of us on vacation 2 years ago, before everything fell apart. Laughing on a beach, me kissing Jack's forehead, Emily hugging me tight. In the kitchen, smaller frames on the counter. Birthday cakes I baked alone, school plays I went to solo, quiet moments where we kept going without him. Jenna stopped walking. Her smile faded slow. Mark's face went tight. He stared at the photos like they were ghosts. Lisa, what is this? I spoke gentle, no edge. These are the kids you left behind, Mark. The ones you said you'd still see every weekend. The ones who cried for months asking why Daddy didn't come home. Jenna looked between us. Kids? You have kids? Mark swallowed hard. I do. I did. I was going to. I cut in soft. You were going to what? Text them on birthdays? Show up when it was convenient? Jenna stepped back a little. Her hand found Mark's arm, but not tight, more like she was steadying herself. I walked to the mantel. There was one more frame, bigger, the divorce papers he signed, the ones he smiled through, now matted, framed in simple black wood, hanging like art. I pointed to it. And this is what you left us with, smiling. Mark's eyes locked on the frame, color drained from his face. Jenna whispered, Mark, you didn't tell me any of this. He tried to speak. It's complicated, Jen. She shook her head slow. No, this isn't complicated. This is a family you walked away from. Silence filled the room, thick, heavy. I didn't yell, didn't need to. I just said, the yearbooks are in a box in the shed. The baseball glove too. You can take them if you want. But the rest, the memories we made after you left, those stay here with us. Jenna looked at me. Not pity, respect, maybe a little sadness for what could have been. She turned to Mark. I think we should go. He nodded once, didn't argue. They walked out quiet. No begging this time, no charm. I closed the door behind them, leaned against it for a second, heart steady. Then I went back to the kitchen, lit another candle, the Maple Lane Memories one, and called the kids. Guess who stopped by today? I said when they answered. They laughed when I told them. Not mean laughs, healing ones. Emily said, Mom, you okay? I smiled at the photos on the wall. Yeah, baby, I'm more than okay.
About a year after the divorce was final, long after the shelter was thriving and Mark had stopped calling, one last legal loose end popped up. A small court hearing, nothing dramatic, just paperwork about dividing a forgotten retirement account we'd both overlooked in the rush to end things. Mark showed up, suit this time, looked tired, no girlfriend by his side, no smile. I sat across the aisle with my lawyer, calm, ready. The judge, an older woman with kind eyes, reviewed the files quick. Then she paused, looked over her glasses at Mark. Mr. Reynolds, there's something here that needs addressing before we close this out. Mark shifted. Your Honor? The judge tapped a document. During the asset disclosure phase, you declared no hidden accounts, but bank records subpoenaed last month show an offshore savings account in the Caymans opened 6 months before the divorce filing, $85,000, never mentioned. The courtroom went still.
Mark's face turned gray. The judge continued, voice steady but firm. "And, Miss Thompson, you used a portion of your own savings and a personal loan to purchase the Maple Lane property, but records also show a wire transfer from this same offshore account, $40,000, deposited into your business account 3 weeks before closing, with your name on it, legally transferred to you by Mr. Reynolds himself." Mark's head snapped up. "What? No, that was—" The judge raised a hand. "Mr. Reynolds, you transferred the money to Miss Thompson as a gift for her business. You signed the wire authorization. It's documented. You can't claim it was hidden now." I sat quiet. I hadn't told anyone this part, not even my sister. Months before he asked for the divorce, Mark had surprised me with that transfer, said it was to help grow my candle side hustle. "You deserve nice things, babe." I'd thanked him, deposited it, never touched it for anything personal until the house came on the market. I used his own secret money, the money he thought he'd tucked away for his fresh start, to buy the house he loved most. Irony wrapped in justice. The judge looked at me. "Miss Thompson, you could have contested this earlier. You didn't. Why?" I spoke soft. "Because I didn't need more from him, Your Honor. I needed to build something good with what I had, including what he gave away without thinking." Mark stared at the floor. No words, no fight left. The judge nodded once. Case closed. Assets divided as previously agreed. No further claims. We walked out. Mark lingered in the hallway. "Lisa, I didn't know it would end like this." I looked at him, really looked. "You didn't know a lot of things, Mark, but you chose them anyway." I turned and walked away. No anger, just peace. Back at Evelyn's Haven that evening, the porch swing creaked gentle under me. Kids from the shelter played in the yard. Laughter floated on the breeze. The oak tree stood tall, like it always had. I whispered to the house, to Evelyn, to every woman who'd ever felt invisible, "We made it." And we did. This story, like all my videos, is inspired by real feelings and real strength that so many of you have shared with me. But to be clear, this is a dramatized narrative created for storytelling and empowerment. Names, details, and events are fictionalized. It's not based on any specific real person or case. If this touched you, if it reminded you that quiet strength can move mountains, drop a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and let me know in the comments, what would you do if life handed you the keys to your own comeback? Thank you to YouTube and the amazing YouTube team for giving creators like me a place to share stories that matter. Thank you to every single one of you for being here, for subscribing, for believing in second chances and soft victories. Until the next story, keep shining, keep healing, keep holding on to your worth. You are enough.